This one is for the Tartarian community out there. Hear me out, please. Have an open mind, right? Don't trade mainstream dogma to get dug in on conspiracy dogma instead. Keep seeking for the truth, even if it's uncomfortable to confront and goes against what you really want to believe. You ever drive through a tiny town, you see an old asylum or courthouse that looks like it came from Europe, and you think, who built this? How did they build this? Why is it even here? And then somebody online tells you it's a lost civilization, Tartaria, mud floods, energy weapons, hidden tech. Here's the truth. It wasn't a lost empire. It was a stolen one. And to be fair, some buildings do still have mysterious background narratives, and we can get deeper into that in another video. In many of these examples, this isn't an ancient mystery. It is 1800s finance on the back of a few centuries of construction. Think about it like this. The French were in North America in the 1600s. So were the Spanish. Even the Chinese had settlements on the west coast in the 1600s. They had all those years to build, hundreds of years. And then the elites from Europe came and they financed even grander structures on the backs of low or even unpaid wage labor. There's proof of all of this. So when did it change? A lot of this narrative shift really starts with the panics, the economic collapses that hit regular people like wrecking balls. All right, I'll break this down. Panic of 1837, banks failed, land values collapsed, thousands lost their farms and their properties. And then again, 40 years later, the Panic of 1873, triggered by overbuilt railroads and speculative banking. Mass foreclosures followed. The Panic of 1893, this was one of the worst. Entire towns collapsed into debt. And then the Great Depression in the 1920s, and by this time, many properties were on their third or fourth ownership. So, what happened during these panics? People couldn't pay their mortgages or taxes. The banks swooped in. Land was seized for pennies on the dollar. Wealth transferred upward from laborers to speculators, from communities to states. And then the narrative changed. A grand home owned by a local builder. Now it's a state orphanage. A black owned hotel in a growing city. Now it's the municipal courthouse. A Catholic immigrant built sanatorium. Now it's just always been the hospital. I don't know. They didn't always build new, okay? They repurposed and renamed what already existed. But history books generally only teach the latest used, not the original one. And that's where the mystery starts, right? That gap there is what fuels the conspiracy theories. When you look at the people who built these structures, you begin to understand why the elites didn't really want to highlight them in their contributions. A lot of these were built by black freedmen trained in trades after the Civil War, Irish and Italian immigrant stonecutters, Native Americans forced into manual labor, poorhouse residents, and institutionalized people used as unpaid workers, even children trained in manual labor schools as part of state run education.